Today we're creating the most accurate, most perfect, not at all chaotic tier list of every starting quarterback for 2025. As you'll see here, we've got our tier list, but we're not going to just go by the S, A, B, C, D format, because honestly I think that's kind of boring. So we're going to rename these tiers and add a lot more as we go. And the way we're going to do this is we're actually going to go by tiers. So I'm not just going to, see Aaron Rodgers here and say, oh, where does he go? I'm going to create the tiers from top to bottom, so from best to worst basically, and then put the guys in each tier that belong. So first things first, we are going to rename this S tier to Elite. Obviously, this is for the truly best of the best, top tier, literally, quarterbacks in the NFL. And we got to start with the reigning MVP, Josh Allen. When it comes to one-man offenses in the league, you're really not going to get much better than him. I don't think anybody would blame you if you said, you had to start an NFL franchise today and you wanted to pick Josh Allen. Don't really think anybody would bat an eye. So he absolutely belongs in that elite tier, as does Lamar Jackson. Two guys who both just put up insanely eye-popping numbers every single season and who unfortunately just both have not been able to win the big one yet. But these are two guys who really have defined the position of this generation and are just obviously clearly elite. There's not really much else I have to say about him. Next, we are going to put Joe Burrow in the elite tier. Different from these other two, obviously, in the sense that rushing is not a big part of his game. I mean, he can do it. He'll add a couple hundred yards, handful of touchdowns each year, but it's not his calling card. He'd much rather just dissect the defense through the air, making them wonder what the hell else they're supposed to do to stop him. He's really kind of a throwback player in that way, because I think the league really is moving toward, their top tier quarterbacks all having to have some sort of at least well above average rushing ability. Instead, Burrow is very much in that like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning sort of mold. Next, we have the elite but get your numbers up tier. And this is for none other than Patrick Mahomes. Now look, for all intents and purposes, Mahomes is still in the elite tier with those three other guys. I just felt the need to call out the fact that he does kind of need to get his numbers up. Obviously, he's got all the Super Bowls, all the accolades, but I do feel the need to acknowledge that these last 2 years, Mahomes' numbers haven't been anything crazy. The Chiefs have really morphed into this, ball control, slow pace style of game, and that's just hurt Mahomes' numbers. Not necessarily his fault, but there are also portions of the season where he's not playing very well. You can count on him to play well when it really matters, which is all that really matters at the end of the day. But I just think we're beyond the point of him automatically being everybody's, number one quarterback in the league. I just don't think he's that guy by default anymore with how well these other three have been playing. And I'm sure there are going to be people out there that say, oh, well, those other guys don't make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, Burrow did it once, but they don't really get there. It's not a quarterback versus quarterback battle that is preventing that from happening. It's the fact that the Chiefs defense is really, really good. So they're making life really, really hard for guys like Burrow, Lamar, and Josh to get to that Super Bowl instead of the Chiefs. Again, this isn't to take anything away from Patrick Mahomes. It's just, I'm watching him a little bit. I'm curious. I want to see, can he get his numbers back up to where he is that clear, by default, number one guy in the NFL. Next up, we've got real good, especially in the playoffs. These are guys who are very good quarterbacks, but it's also kind of their calling card that they rise when the games truly matter when we get to that postseason. I think the poster child for this right now is Jalen Hurts. I'm seeing kind of everybody try to jump through hoops to keep Jalen Hurts, outside of their top 5, whatever quarterbacks in the NFL, and I get it. He is a little bit more limited in his skill set than some other guys may be, and he does have probably the best overall supporting cast in the league, which is why people are like, oh, it's not really him, it's all these other guys. And I think they're right to an extent, but you also have to look at the fact that Jalen Hurts may have objectively played his 2 best games as a pro in Super Bowls. Like, this is a guy that once you get to the Super Bowl, he's not only not going to lose that game for you, he's going to actively elevate your team when he gets there. And I think there's something to be said for that. So I'm going to put him here as essentially my 5th best quarterback just because he's shown such a propensity to get it done. Similar vein, but this is just a guy that's been around for a really long time. Obviously, really good in the regular season, really good in the postseason, finally got that Super Bowl a couple years ago, and that is Matthew Stafford. Some of the best pure arm talent in the league, even at age 37, and another guy who you would be more than happy is leading your team once you get to the playoffs. Next, we're going to have real good, but playoffs need work. I think you could probably guess who's going in this tier. It's Justin Herbert. Some of the best pure talent we have in the league today, but just seems to collapse at the wrong time all the time. Like, his touchdown interception ratio in the regular season was insane. 23 touchdowns, only 3 picks the entire year. And then he throws 4 picks in a single playoff game against the Texans. What? And that's why he's kind of earned this reputation as if man. I mean, the king of hypotheticals. People always say, oh, if Justin Herbert just did this, then he'd be great. Or if this happened around him, then he'd be really good. And I think we're all kind of waiting for that to still come together. And I think it's fair to still acknowledge all of the great underlying traits that he has. But for now, I just don't think I could put him any higher than this, not above guys who have shown that they are able to elevate their teams in the games that matter the most. I still love me some Herbert, though. Next, we are continuing our real good tiers with real good for 1 year. This is not meant to be disrespectful. This is not meant to be backhanded. It's just the reality that these guys were really good, but for only 1 year, so we can't give them too much credit just yet. Jaden Daniels is a guy that a lot of people are already putting in top 5 conversations, and I mean, I don't blame them. He just had arguably the greatest rookie quarterback season of all time. Got the Commanders all the way to the NFC Championship game after years of just being complete garbage. And I really won't blame you if you have him top 5, but I just want to pump the brakes a little bit because you never know what a guy's going to look like in year 2, which was exemplified by the other guy that I'm going to put in this tier, and that is CJ Stroud. He was really good his rookie year, and then last year took a step back for mostly reasons that I don't believe were his fault, but it has created a situation now where we want to see how well he can bounce back from that adversity this year. You've got 2 guys in this tier that I think have all the raw talent and ability to honestly ascend to that elite tier one day, but for right now, we just have to take a little bit more of a wait and see approach because we just don't know exactly what they're going to turn into, and they both only have exactly 1 good season under their belts. Next up, we have the system gods, respectfully. I think the term system quarterback has gotten thrown around way too much in a negative way, and that anytime you say that now, people just think you're saying that the quarterback is god-awful if it's not for the system that he's in. No, that's not the case. The quarterbacks that I'm going to put in here, I think, are very, very good for their system, and there's something to be said for that. Not just any quarterback out there in the world can be thrown into a system and then, make that system good. These are guys that I think we have to acknowledge the fact that they have, some of the best coaching, coordinators, talent around them, offensive lines, whatever it may be, that has really enhanced their ability to produce big numbers when maybe their underlying physical traits, aren't anything crazy. We're not looking at guys with Justin Herbert's arm talent or Lamar Jackson's rushing ability. We're looking at guys that are a little bit more limited, but just as able to lead an elite offense and kind of steer that ship. Number 1 guy when I think of this tier is Jared Goff. Has put up good numbers year after year now in that Lions offense. He's really found a home there. Next, I'm going to put Baker Mayfield, guy who really floated around the league for a while. Granted, it was with some of the worst organizations in the sport, between the Browns and the Panthers. But now that he's in Tampa, he's really gotten comfortable there, and I'm glad because he's one of my favorite players to watch play. The newly paid Brock Purdy is also going to go in this tier. Again, a guy where there's something to be said for someone who won't lose you big games when he's on a team that finds itself in big games more often than not, last season notwithstanding for the 49ers. Got his new contract precisely because he is the exact type of quarterback that is built to run a Kyle Shanahan offense, and they don't want him going anywhere else. And lastly, I struggled if I wanted to put this guy in this tier because it feels just a little too high for him considering the fact that he was only a rookie last year, but it feels like this is the right place for him considering the context. And that's Bo Nix. Bo Nix was not a slam dunk prospect coming out of college. He was a guy that a lot of people thought might flop in the NFL given the wrong system, but Sean Payton got this man right, not just because of his coaching, but because the Broncos had one of the very best offensive lines in the league last year, and Payton just knows how to leverage Nix's strengths. Basically, these are 4 guys who I think if you put them in really, really bad situations, they might flounder more than some of the guys above them if they were in bad situations. But you need to give them credit for putting up incredible numbers in the situations they're in, because again, not just anybody can do that. Next, we've got probably underrated, a group of guys who I think you could probably argue are better than the system gods, and maybe that they even belong in one of the real good tiers. But they've all just been overlooked for one reason or another, and I just want to acknowledge that even though I'm putting them down here because that just kind of feels like where they should be, I might be wrong. I might be underrating them like the rest of the world seems to be. First in this tier, we're going to go with Dak Prescott. Probably underrated just because he's coming off of an injured season and has to deal with the constant circus that is the Dallas Cowboys, but we've seen him put up numbers with the best of them when he's fully healthy. Next, we've got new Las Vegas Raider, Geno Smith, another guy who I think is one of the best pure passers in the league. Still doesn't seem to be getting the credit he's really due because he was such a late bloomer. Having a quarterback that's very accurate and very cerebral with a coach he's familiar with, surrounded with weapons like Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, Jacoby Myers, I think we're going to have a good year out of Geno. And rounding out the probably underrated tier is going to be Jordan Love. Much like Dak, I think a victim of injury last year, kind of dampening the outlook on him. You just don't really hear a lot of people talking about Jordan Love right now. But this is a guy that 2 years ago had 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions in his first year as a starter. I think if we get a fully healthy year out of him, we could definitely be looking back at this tier list like, man, that guy is way too low. Our next tier is Bryce Young. I really didn't know where else to put him except giving him his own tier. Because you could argue that I could have put him in the real good for 1 year tier, but in reality, he was only real good for half a year. And I also just can't really justify putting him above guys like Goff and Baker just yet. But it feels like this is where he belongs from a guys I would want to have on my team perspective. So yeah, Bryce Young. Speaking of guys who I would want to be the quarterback on my team, next up is going to be the eyes emoji tier, which is going to be filled with potential more than results at this point. But they're guys who I trust their potential enough to say that I want them more than some of the veterans that are still left on this board. And there's going to be two guys going in this eyes emoji tier, and they are honestly startlingly similar players, at least in terms of their situations that they're in. And that's Caleb Williams and Drake May. Both top 3 picks in the 2024 draft, both had horrible situations their rookie years, and both kind of showed some talent that shined through despite that. And now both have had just complete roster and coaching turnover heading into their second year. I think there's a lot of hype behind these guys heading into their second year, and rightfully so, because it seems like both their franchises are making the right decisions to put them in the best place to succeed. And I'm excited to watch both these guys play this year, not just because, you know, Drake May is on my team, but I think they're both really, really talented players, and watching what they can do in a not total dumpster fire situation is going to be some good TV. And again, I know we have some solid vets still left in this little bank of players down here, but these are guys that I would just rather have the upside for than, you know, the vets that are still down here that you kind of know what you're getting from them at this point. Like, yes, have they proven more than Caleb and Drake May to this point? Absolutely. Obviously, Tua Tagovailoa has done more in the NFL than both these guys have. But would I rather lock myself into Tua for the next several years or take a shot on these guys who seem to have, you know, a lot of talent, were top 3 picks in their draft just a year ago? I'd rather have them. Which brings me to the I'm tired boss tier. This is the tier for guys that just seem to refuse to take that next step. They've been around several years now, in some cases have been talked about as like possible MVP level players if things broke right, but things just haven't broken right in quite a while. Trevor Lawrence, probably the poster boy for this at this point. I do have some hope that with them bringing in Liam Cohen, who can hopefully design a bit more creative and effective of an offense for him, that he might not be in this tier by the end of the year. But the fact remains, the numbers just haven't been there. I mean, this was supposed to be the prince that was promised to the league, right? And yet it just hasn't come together. In a similar vein, we've got Kyler Murray, another guy who seemed like he was very suited for the modern NFL with his combination of passing and rushing. But outside of a brief stint where he had DeAndre Hopkins and was just kind of chucking balls to him down the field all day, we haven't seen that come together either. I mean, we're heading into year 7 for Kyler Murray. If he hasn't taken that next step yet, I don't know that he's going to. And finally, we have Tua Tagovailoa. Tua goes into I'm tired boss for kind of a different reason than Trevor and Kyler, because I, along with a lot of people, I don't think ever envisioned the super high-end upside for Tua that we envisioned for guys like Trevor and Kyler. Tua goes into I'm tired boss just because I am tired of hearing about him and watching him. Like, obviously you've got the injuries, which were super unfortunate, and you never want to see those, but those seem to happen, you know, every other year at this point. And then when they don't, even when he does have a season where, you know, he put up pretty good numbers and the Dolphins look like the greatest show on turf, he's chucking bombs to Tyreek Hill all day, they get to the playoffs and just lay a big egg, big old wet fart anytime the Dolphins have to play in weather that's even remotely cold. I'm just tired of it, and I don't see it really going anywhere is kind of more what I mean by putting him in this tier. I don't see Tua taking that next step to be like, oh, we're happy we committed all our money to this guy. It just feels like they're in no man's land. Next up, we've got the bridge boys. These are quarterbacks who are solid bridge quarterbacks, guys who you know will go out there and, you know, put up decent performances most of the time, I would say, but not guys that you want to lean on for a long period of time. Like, they're guys who clearly belong in the NFL, but not someone that you want your team to be signing to like a 4-year deal. Exhibit A for this is going to be Sam Darnold. Darnold had an awesome year with the Vikings leading that Kevin O'Connell offense, but I still think there are questions about his long-term viability. Obviously, he just fell apart completely at the end of the season in the games that truly mattered, which is concerning going forward, especially heading to Seattle now, where they're not going to be surrounding him with as much as he had in Minnesota. But he still showed something in Minnesota that I don't think we knew he really had, which was the ability to be a competent starting NFL quarterback given the right situation. So I think he's a solid bridge quarterback while a team tries to find its next guy. And then similarly, we've got Justin Fields. Justin Fields, you at least know, will be fun to watch if he's your bridge quarterback. I don't think the Jets are under any delusion that like he's going to be their guy for, again, you know, the next decade or whatever. But he's a guy I want to see on the field. He's a guy that I am happy has a starting job in the NFL, and I do think deserves one, just not for a team that's like really taking itself seriously. Next up, we've got, who knows? Just not enough evidence either way to put these guys anywhere else. Starting with Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick in this past draft. I think he's got the tools to be a really good NFL quarterback, but, you know, people thought that about Jamarcus Russell too. And I'm not saying he's Jamarcus Russell. I'm just saying we haven't seen him play an NFL snap yet, so I can't reasonably put him anywhere other than kind of the unknown tier. Another guy who hasn't played an NFL snap yet outside of the preseason, JJ McCarthy, is going to go in this tier. Just don't know enough about how he's going to adapt from college to the pros yet to put him anywhere else. And rounding it out, we've got Michael Penix Jr. Obviously has a bit more NFL experience than these other guys, but still not enough for me to make any sort of declarative statements about him. I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the Falcons. I think the upside is there, but as of now, we just don't know. Next, we just have old, and obviously Aaron Rodgers is going in old. I will give Rodgers some credit. His numbers last year really weren't bad. I mean, 28 touchdowns to 11 interceptions on the Jets. You really can't complain too much about that. At the same time, you know, there's just no future for Aaron Rodgers. He's 41 years old, so if he's your quarterback, he will not be for very long. And so he very well may outproduce some of these guys that are above him, especially in the who knows tier, who, you know, they could just be a complete mixed bag of outcomes. But I just don't, nothing about having Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback in 2025 excites me. Also getting old is Russell Wilson, another guy who, because of age, you just can't really get excited about as your starting quarterback. The Giants aren't going to be contenders this year, so he's kind of just there to hold down the fort until whenever Jackson Dart's ready, or whenever the Giants want to instill a large amount of chaos into the NFL by giving Jameis the starting job. Who knows? Maybe that'll happen at some point. But yeah, right now, Russ, I mean, really the main thing to describe him is just old. Our next tier is Yikes, and this is just for Anthony Richardson. I'm still holding out hope that he can be something in the league, but as of right now, he's literally the worst passer in the sport. Not an exaggeration. We're talking 47% completion percentage. Literally the bottom of the NFL. So as much as I'm still enticed by that, you know, dual threat ability with his legs, it's not really dual threat. That's kind of the only threat. The arm is not a threat at this point. I know there are some reports out there that he got his eyes corrected this offseason, that he's been working with whoever Josh Allen worked with to improve his accuracy. But for now, I mean, 47% completion, like, he has to be down here. There's just no way. Next up, we have Who Knows second round edition. I didn't want to put Tyler Shuck in the regular Who Knows tier because those guys are all highly drafted, highly thought of prospects, right? So I want them to be in their own tier by themselves. Tyler Shuck, we don't know. We have no idea what he's going to be. We think he's probably going to be the starter for the Saints this year, but we have no idea what he's going to be. But he's also a second round pick. So like those expectations are even lower. The upside is seemingly even lower. So I had to put him lower than the first Who Knows tier. Just kind of is what it is. And lastly, we've got the Browns. And I'm going to put Joe Flacco in here, but it can be Joe Flacco or whoever you want. This is one of the quarterback situations where I think we truly have no idea who's going to be out there week one. It could be one of four guys: Flacco, Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. And I put this tier at the bottom to say that is just the worst quarterback situation in the league by a mile. Like, let's look at the candidates who are in this four-way quarterback competition. You've got million-year-old Joe Flacco, who, as much as I think has that positive sentiment around him for what he did with the Browns a couple years ago, his overall numbers are not very good, and he's old. So it's not going to be pretty if he ends up their starter this year. Kenny Pickett, complete flame out with the Steelers. And then two rookies drafted in the 3rd and 5th rounds. Obviously, one of those rookies could ascend and prove to be the guy. I mean, we've seen mid to late round quarterback picks, you know, ascend occasionally. But at least on paper, this looks like the most desolate, disgusting quarterback situation in the league. And as far as preseason tier lists go, has to be treated as such. So we have the Browns tier. In fact, I'm going to make it gray just to make it even sadder. I would make it brown, but they don't give me that option. But there you have it. Zoomed it out so you can see it all at once. Your ultimate 2025 quarterback tier list. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.